All right, welcome coaches to another episode of the IFCA Journal Podcast. I am your host, PJ Hedrington. I would like to welcome a special guest who is my mentor. I would say one of my dearest and best friends on the planet, my mentor as a coach and as a father and a husband. He's truly a special man to our family, Coach Wilken. His bio, he's a Hall of Fame Iowa high school football coach. He won the state championship at 8 player in 2014. He was at, I call it the alphabet school, MVAOCOU, Newell-Fonda, okay, in Ridgeview. If you don't know Newell-Fonda is a special place. There's a story in the end of this him and I will talk about. Uh, Several-time district coach of the year, also multiple regional coaches of the year, state coach of the year. He is a husband to Pam, who is amazing, 5 wonderful kids, and he's also a grandpa. So he is also our IFCA board secretary for the past 7 years. He took over for our mentor, Ken Winkler, who's done it forever. So I'd like to welcome our special guest, Coach Brian Wilken. What's up, man? How you doing?
Thanks, BJ. Doing good.
Good. So this is kind of weird for us, having you on instead of hauling around a bunch of journals, huh?
Well, this is a little different, and you know how much I love technology, and this has tested my health quite frequently about doing this, and I finally agreed to do this, and I hope I do okay.
Oh, I think you'll do fine. Like I said, us coaches, we understand, man. We've got through it. So Coach Wilken is one of the gyms. Like I said, he's been on the IFCA, involved with it for a long time. So he's going to speak to us tonight about not just some football aspects, but just our association, some of the things our history and some of the things that he's been through, some of the things that we offer at the IFCA for our youth and for our coaches as well. So first question, Coach Wilken, how and when did you get involved with the IFCA?
PJ, I was introduced probably to the IFCA in 1994. A huge thank you to Coach Winkler, who really got me not only started or gave me my start coaching football, but also introduced me to this unbelievable association and organization known as the Iowa Football Coaches Association. I really didn't become deeply involved until 1998 when I became a first-time head coach at Maple Valley Anthony Charter Oak Ute. That's really when I started to really become involved and have been involved ever since that time.
So with your involvement with it, okay, what were some of like the first steps that you took towards getting heavily involved?
Well, I think the steps was becoming involved in committees, and being a committee member, and helping out with committees and the work that our committees do. The other part of it was being able to accompany Coach Winkler on a number of IFCA board meetings, and to sit in on board meetings and watch how this whole process took place in terms of our board meetings. And and as the years went, obviously he entrusted me to do more things, made me a committee chairman. I was fortunate to be elected by my peers to the board of directors. From there, was fortunate enough by our board of directors to be elected president-elect and then president. And, it's been an ongoing process, and a process that I've truly embraced and truly loved. It's been, since 1994 when I was first introduced, 30 plus wonderful years of involvement with the Iowa Football Coaches Association.
Man, that's a long time. Why do you feel like it's important for coaches to get involved for their programs and community?
Well, I think, first and foremost, we as football coaches, we as high school football coaches, assistant football coaches, junior high football coaches, youth football coaches, for that matter, this is our association. This is the state of Iowa's Football Coaches Association. And, with that being said, this is really our choice and our chance to be involved in a lot of different ways. This gives our association a voice with not only other coaches associations across the United States, and each state has their own football coaches association for the most part, and this gives us a chance to interact and have a voice with not only what's happening here in the state of Iowa, but also across the nation. It's also our voice with the Iowa High School Athletic Association. It's our voice with the American Football Coaches Association. And it really gives us an opportunity to promote and assist the Iowa High School Athletic Association in setting guidelines for high school football here in the state of Iowa. And, it does not stop there, but the involvement, should be from coaches that want to be involved, because this is our association and our voice to a
Mhm.
lot of different avenues.
Right. So, yeah, yeah, it's true. There's so many different things that we do that people don't know or understand. Yeah. Rolling into our second question, this is again, I love this one. I know I kind of know and understand what your answer is going to be, but how do coaches and players benefit from being involved in the IFCA, from getting involved?
Well, I wrote down, in preparation for this, PJ, about 30 different things.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, some of them are overlaps and things like that, which I've already talked about, such as the association with the AFCA, or the American Football Coaches Association. We get to promote and assist the Iowa High School Athletic Association, and we are a voice with them. We're very blessed to have Jared Chiswick as our football administrator with the Iowa High School Athletic Association. He does a tremendous job in working with us and helping us in any way, shape, or form that we can, as both groups try to promote high school football here in the state of Iowa to be the best in the nation. I talked about the communication with other coaches association, in terms of the football coaches association, but we get together once a year with the which is known as the Iowa Athletic Council, in which we get to sit down and discuss issues here in the state of Iowa with other coaches associations here in the state of Iowa, such as the Wrestling Coaches Association, such as the Basketball Coaches Association. We are associated with the National Football Foundation, which is headed up by Dr. Craig Mahoney in Des Moines. We give out numerous awards. We have the Football
Mm,
Coaches Association Hall of Fame.
mhm.
We give out the Walt Fiegel Coaching for Character Award to one coach each and every year after long-term executive secretary Walt Fiegel. We give out the Ken Winkler Distinguished Service Awards to maybe bus drivers or PA announcers or team doctors or chain crews, or we give them out each year at our IFCA awards banquet, which is coming up here the end of February. We get to select the head coaches for the Shrine All-Star football game. We gave out last year over $7,500 in scholarship money to student athletes or football players that completed the nomination and were selected as IFCA scholarship recipients. We give 2 cheerleading scholarship awards at the Shrine game, academic all-state football teams,
Mm,
selection of all-state football teams. We do an awards banquet in conjunction with the IFCA clinic here at the end of or here in the winter or the end of February, first part of March.
mhm, mhm,
We have a yearbook, which is one of a kind publication that's been done for many, many years. We have our clinic, which ACE Fundraising has been a big part of in getting started, and has developed the clinic into one of the largest in the nations. We have a mentoring program. We give all coaches an opportunity to express their concerns, their ideas at our regional meetings, which take place after each football season. So the list goes on, of the things that we do, PJ, and
yeah,
really proud of what this association does, and I'm just a small piece, because I am blessed to have so many great people, great coaches that are committee chairmen and really make our association and all these things happen because of their work.
Right. Yeah. 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 Okay. I'm gonna kind of bounce around here real quick, but I want to get to if I'm a young coach, and again, you and I kind of cut our teeth very similar with the association. You had Coach Winkler, I had Brad Knight, and I had you, and then I had Coach Winkler as well. But if I'm a young coach and I'm a young head coach and I'm getting involved in my community, and I want to get involved in the IFCA, why do you feel like it's important for me to start at a committee, like serving on a committee, instead of just jumping in and taking control? Why do you feel like I need to just listen and learn first? What's kind of the steps that you and I have went through? Explain that.
Well, I think, first and foremost, PJ, this is, an association that is blessed by many great coaches, many great people. And, I think it is so important for young coaches to see the process and to see how things operate and ask questions and have the ability to go and sit down with some of these great coaches, these great people, and have the opportunity to ask questions. So there's so many of these great people here in the state of Iowa that coach football at the high school level that are willing to sit down with young coaches. And it's much like we talk to our players. This is a process. Step in as the executive secretary 1994 when I was introduced.
Mhm. Mhm.
I started at a committee. I sat back and kept my mouth shut and just listened because I took so many things away from the great coaches that came before me, not only coaching football, but here with the IFCA.
Right. Yeah. And those are, and I think you would agree with me. Those are the valuable lessons that we learn, right? When you're sitting there with Tom Stone, Ed Thomas, Jerry Stanton, Bob Howard, Daryl Schumacher, and they're sitting there just talking, and they have so much knowledge and information to share. And even yourself, I find myself sometimes sitting in those rooms just listening more than even giving input or anything. You're taking notes and writing, you know. Those guys got so much to share.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And like I said, I'm one of those guys that saves everything because I never know when I may need it. And I could go back to some of those nights that we sat at a bar or in a hotel room and talked football and talked about the IFCA and I got notes scribbled on pieces of paper that, you know, I still will look back on and look at some of the lessons that so many of those people and the great insight that so many of those great coaches, great people shared with me. I didn't have to say a word. I was just a young coach trying to learn and trying to learn to do things the right way and how to do things. And like I said, other than asking questions, that was the only time I needed to open my mouth.
Absolutely. Talk about Coach Thomas, Ed Thomas, what he meant to you, and then we're gonna kinda transition into the scholarship that the IFCA provides, but just his legacy, in our schools and communities.
I think, first and foremost, Coach Thomas, was a very dear friend, was a great mentor to me in terms of the sport of football, in terms of the Iowa Football Coaches Association. And I will share this about Coach Thomas, and I sincerely mean this. I learned much more from Coach Thomas about life, about how to deal with people, how to face adversity, how to overcome adversity, how to handle different situations than I ever did about football. And he shared with me one time, he said, "We'll sit down and talk about all these things and if you want to come back and talk about football, we certainly can because as we all know, one of his most famous sayings was if all I taught you was to block and tackle, then I've failed you miserably as a coach."
Yep.
And like I said, that holds true to me too, PJ, as he taught me much more about a lot more things other than just football.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
he was a lifetime member of the Football Coaches Association. He was a past president, served on our board of directors for many years, as well as being involved with numerous committees. And We, as the Football Coaches Association, after his death in 2009, we really believed that we needed to create an award to carry on his legacy. And we wanted that award to go to the best of the best amongst Iowa high school football players who demonstrate the three characteristics of faith, family, and football. Obviously, Coach Thomas and his football program in Applington Parkersburg were nationally known for those three traits. And, the Ed Thomas Award and monetary award that we give is the highest award given to a football player by the Iowa Football Coaches Association.
Yeah, that's true. That's yeah. I mean, it's coaches, if you ever get the chance to be there or have a player that's selected for this award and they, it sends chills down your spine. I mean, I was there for when one of our players got received the award, and just watching Coach Winkler and Coach Wilken come to your school, and the whole student body's there and everyone's there, and they say the young man's name and he comes out, and it's just it means a lot. So it's kinda it's pretty cool. So that's a good deal. I like that.
It's everybody should I hope everybody gets an opportunity, number 1, to experience the presentation because it is truly a great, great award.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I believe so too. Alright, we're kinda gonna switch gears a little bit, kinda a little bit more about you, and I know you're not a big talker about you, I know that. But we're gonna kinda we got some young coaches listening and some coaches that are just probably new to the profession a little bit, so we're gonna talk about work balance, okay? Now, you have 5 wonderful kids that you've raised. You are the board secretary, you're a head football coach, you were a head AD, now you're an assistant AD, okay? How do you balance teaching, coaching, athletic director duties, IFCA secretary, and being a family man? How do you balance all that?
Well, I think, first and foremost, you have to have a supportive wife and family, and I'm truly blessed to have probably, the most supportive wife and family that there is. Pam, she's a saint, and we laugh and I say this. The thing I told her when we got married or when we got engaged was I wasn't going to promise her any big mansion or vacation home or anything like that. The only thing I promised her was I was coming home at night, and I was coming home every night. I couldn't promise her what time it would be, but I was going to be at home. And God bless her. She raised 5 children, 5 wonderful children. Basically, uh, on her own. She deserves all the credit because, obviously, um, I was gone a lot. They were in the bleachers, but dad was down doing AD duties or coaching or off at a clinic or off at a IFCA. And like I said, I think it starts with a supportive wife and family. Number 2, you got to be organized. You got to be extremely organized. You got to lead by example. I always say I'm going to invest time. I'm never going to waste it. And so I'm not a TV guy. I don't spend very little time watching TV. I spend my time working on football, working on an AD, working on the Iowa Football Coaches Association because to me that's investing time, and I don't want to say that watching TV is a waste of time, but to me, I feel I can use my time much better. You got to be a great listener, and you have to be a guy that's always looking for an edge, and how to do things better. You got to be able to juggle a lot of different things. You got to have flexibility. Number one, or the other part of that with your family is, they have to be 100% all in terms of committed to doing things right, committed to excellence, and like I said, I'm blessed, and I feel it, truly believe that, and like I said, but it takes great organization, and you gotta stay focused on the task at hand, and you gotta be flexible because things change, and you gotta lead by example, and that's through hard work and doing things right, being committed to excellence in everything you do.
That's very true, and one of the things I learned right away from you, and again, I have 5 children as well as you, and one of the things I learned is, number 1, make sure Pam always helps out booking the hotel, and I learned that quickly, and then I've learned that the kids are involved in the pool and bring keep your family involved in what you do, and that's one of the things that I learned and respect about
Yeah.
how you handle things. I love that. Keep them with you, keep them bring them into our world because it's unique, very unique.
Yeah, and like I said, our family has been very involved in football. It is a part of their life. It's a way of life. They've been very involved in the coaches association. They've been very involved in everything that I've done, and deserve so much of the credit for their support
Yeah.
and being all in and 100% all in. With everything we do.
Yeah, yeah, there it's truly amazing. All right, last question and then we'll move on. Why do you feel like it was time for us to adjust to make the changes to the IFCA journal?
Well, I think, people nowadays are so connected to their phones, and
Yep.
everything that they want is at their expense through the internet. And, the IFCA journal, which you did a tremendous job putting together for so many
Thank you.
years, PJ,
Yep, thank you.
uh, was a great publication, and was provided coaches with articles from other coaches about culture, about the weight room, about offense, about defense, about special teams. The list goes on and on with the articles that you not only got from coaches here in the state of Iowa, but here in the Midwest. What happened was, and the internet had a big factor, is coaches can now search just about anything they wanted right there on their phone rather than pick up the IFCA journal and read it. And you know the podcast that your idea of creating this podcast through the IFCA rather than a journal enabled people to hit a button and play them and listen to them, rather than carry around a publication of the IFCA journal and try to read it. We are into multitasking. I've learned that through my own 5 kids, that Dad, you can do more than one thing at once. And a podcast is obviously something that enables one to multitask a bit. And it was just, the journal, like I said, you did a tremendous job, PJ, and we're forever grateful all the work that you put into that. But it was time to move to, what reality was. And
Correct.
that
Yep.
was no longer the journal. It was moving to what the younger generation turns to now to get information.
Right. Yep. And I 100% agree and support it and love it. And I, it when you guys asked me to do this, excuse me, the journal many years ago, it was I was nervous, I was scared. I mean, I was like, man, I'm not that great of a speller. What am I doing? But this podcast is something that I enjoy doing because, well, I am a talker, and I am very personable. So it's fun. It's really and I thank you and the board members for allowing me to do this and use this platform to share information for coaches, for all of us to just learn. So I appreciate you for that. Thank you.
Yeah, and like I said, in turning to the podcast, our response and our feedback back from your work already has been tremendous, and obviously we are reaching the younger generation, because it's been many of the younger generations that have expressed their feedback and how good this is for the Football Coaches Association and football coaches here in the state of Iowa. So good job.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you. All right. So I've got one little goofy question. I always ask one little goofy question. Okay. And we always have a little fun on this podcast. So there's so many stories that you and I have at coaching clinics that some we can't share on the air. But I do want to ask, would you ever allow me to book a hotel room for you for a coaching clinic? And why not?
PJ, I will never ever I'll put you in charge of the IFCA podcast, but I will not put you in charge of booking a hotel room because you obviously, when that you booked your hotel room and you were so proud that you had done this. The problem was you did not realize you booked it in another city.
So yes, coaches, if there's anything you learned from us tonight, it's get involved at the IFCA. You build great relationships, and you've also learned to not let PJ Hedgerton book your hotel room.
No, because you may have to drive to another city if you wish to stay in the hotel that PJ booked.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
But that is one of my favorite things about you, PJ, because for me, that probably would have put my blood pressure through the roof, but you just accepted it and booked another hotel and canceled that one, and it was all good.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. It's called being flexible.
yep, as I said, you got to be flexible. You got to be willing to juggle many things, and we had to juggle a lot of things that night.
Well, hey, again, Coach Wilken, I just want to thank you on behalf of the IFCA for all you do. We also want to thank you for sharing so much information tonight. Coaches, if you want to reach out to Coach Wilken, Coach, what's a good email or a good way people can get a hold of you?
Yes, and young coaches, I share this and I sincerely mean this. If there is anything that I can do to help you in any way, shape, or form, coaching football, any aspect of football or anything that I can help you with the IFCA or getting you involved with the IFCA, please feel free to reach out to me. I was very blessed to have a lot of people that helped me along the way, and I will do whatever I can to give back to you coaches as well. And my email is B as in boy, Wilken, WILKEN, at RV as in Viking, Raptors, RAPTORS.org. My cell phone number is 712-299-6787.
Well, again, thank you, Coach, for taking the time and talking to us. Coaches, again, he left his information for you. I will also put him in the description. Coaches, thank you so much for tuning in to our episode with Coach Wilken for the IFCA podcast. Thank you and keep grinding.